going on, everybody? We're back in the speed shop with some more updates and some more progress. We're just going to be working on brakes today. It's not going to be a very long one, but I do have some parts that have finally returned. Got the transmission back from Cryo Heat, and I've got the crank back from Crankworks. They are some beautiful pieces that are going to go in. First things first, here's the crank. Let's open this thing up. I'll kind of explain what they did. So this crank came directly out of the engine. Last time I put it in, it was just an OEM crank with a Carrillo rod. That was all I had. Put it back together, put it in, thing worked great for a long time. Then, after getting the thing back out, thinking about what I wanted to do with this engine, I told Crankworks, I'm like, let's get this thing perfect. Let's do as much to it as we can without costing me a fortune. The first thing happened, still cost me quite a bit of money, but it doesn't matter. So what Crankworks did is they took that crank, rebuilt everything, new pin and bearing, went back through the rod. What's cool about these rods, and I think even the Wazzer rods, is you can re-bush them. So they put a new bushing in, and then they'll hone it out, clean it up, and you've got basically a brand new rod and bearing on there, which is awesome. Makes it a lot easier than having to buy a whole new rod because I already spent the money once. But I had them also go through and do a polish, and then you guys might see here, this little piece is actually a counterbalance. So they went and they balanced this crank with the whole piston assembly. They basically drilled out a couple slots right here, you can see, and added tungsten weight and welded it in so they could balance the crank with the piston so that I don't have a ton of vibration with this thing. So with it being polished, brand new bushings and bearings and counterbalance, I have a feeling this is going to be one sweet piece in that engine. It's going to help it run really well, and hopefully it should last a little longer without a lot of vibration in there. We'll see. I don't know. I've never done this before. This is the first time doing it with this crank. It is kind of spendy, but if you're going to build something, why not go for it? So there's the crank. Just to show you exactly what it looks like compared to an OEM crank, here's a stock crank. You can see nothing's been done to it. It's just been pulled out of an engine. I can't remember what engine this came out of, but no welds on the pin, stock rod, which actually stock rods are still pretty dang good rods to have. And then no counterbalancing, nothing like that. And there's the built crank. You can see this is gonna be one sweet piece. So I'm excited to get that thing in there. Now for the transmission. I'm just gonna show you guys the output shaft here, or the counter shaft. There is the transmission after it's been sent to Cryo Heat and treated, and then polished and sent back to me. This is way more affordable than I thought it was going to be, which is good for the old pocketbook. But if you guys are thinking about doing it, Cryo Heat was a good option. I've heard nothing but good things from what I could read online or people who have used them before. They love it. So I'm kind of excited to try that. It's also a cheaper option than buying a billet transmission. If you guys have seen those, I think Rage ATV sells them. Good transmissions, but holy cow, are they expensive. They're more expensive than what I build an engine for. Depending on parts, but 2 G's for a transmission is a lot. If you don't want to spend that kind of money, but you want a good strong transmission with little resistance and it's going to last a lot longer, I think that's the way to go. Cryo treat your stock transmission. I think you're going to be a lot better off. Now, as for what I'm doing today, we're just going to make a little bit more progress. We're going to be working on brakes. I got the master cylinder here for the front brakes. I'm going to go through and rebuild that. You can get a stock rebuild kit, just OEM plungers, spring and seals and things like that. Go back through your master cylinder. It's a very easy job. Go through it because it's cheap insurance, right? Most people I know kind of neglect their brakes. They just don't think about it. As long as they feel them working, they just keep going. But I've found that once I go back through them and I put fresh stuff in there, especially when you have stainless steel lines on, you're going to feel a lot more grip in those front brakes and just how spongy your old ones might have been. Speaking of spongy, that brings me to my next point. I also have my calipers pulled apart because I found something. I've never seen this before or heard of it before. Maybe some of you have, but this little pin right here that the caliper rides on, everything slides across this right here, holds the two pieces together and everything slides together, pinching your brake rotors. This pin right here is the one I took out. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little fuzzy. Got lint on my garage floor. Anyway, this one right here, the one I took off, is bent. Now, I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I have a theory. A lot of people say it's happened to them, where when we're riding these deep, sandy, loamy tracks, rocks or gravel will get up, or will get picked up by the brake rotor. If you don't have like a rotor guard or something in there, that rotor will pick up dirt and rocks and will jam it in between your brake pads. Whoa! Which is what I think happened here, and bent this like this. So when it came running through, it bent the pin. From then on, I noticed that my brakes were really soft. I knew I had gone through and bled them. There were new brake lines and the brake pads were new, and I was like, what is going on? Why are they so weak? I felt other people's brakes, they're solid as soon as you hit them. Then when I finally pulled it apart, I looked at it, and you can see that the brake pads were actually facing kind of down at an angle away from each other. I was going, that's weird. There's your culprit right there. So this was bending the brake caliper out, so you're only getting the corner of the pads touching the brake rotor, which you could imagine after a little while, you'd wear off that corner of the brake pad, and then all of a sudden you'd have just the metal backing plate touching your brake rotor at the top as it's trying to flatten out the pads. So, that's what we're going to be fixing today. Let's get to it. Now, some of you guys have done these brakes, realize just how simple this is, and it's something so easy you should probably just do it maybe routinely every once in a while. But as you can see, it literally comes in one bag. Everything you need to rebuild that master cylinder comes in here. I think there's only one thing that doesn't. It's that inside plunger right there that stays submerged. I'm going to leave that one alone. It looks good to me. It feels good to me. We're going to run with it, but we're going to do everything else. That's it right there. Here's your part number if you guys want to know. Now, I get most of this stuff like Rocky Mountain or Motosport or Partzilla. Whoever has it in stock, that's basically who I go and get. You get the new plunger, all right? You get your rubber boot, then you get your two inner seals. Here's your circlip, and then there's the spring, all right? That's everything you need to rebuild this, and it makes these feel a lot better. If you haven't touched these in years, you probably should do it now. So first thing I want to do is just get this little rubber boot out of here. That's this guy, all right? It's basically just an external seal. And I'm not worried about wrecking it. I got a pick here to help pull it off. You can feel the bottom side is really crusty on this one. So it was time for that one to go anyway. That one's a lot better. So that one's junk. Now we got to move on to the little circlip. It is way down in there, so you might have to move it a little bit, because usually if you have this type of little circlip pliers, it's very hard to get it all the way down in there, so I have to try to move it off to the side or something like that, just so I can get at that circlip to pop it out of there. Through a little bit of ingenuity and using these picks, which are very useful, I was able to get that circlip out. Oh yeah. Looking pretty crusty in there. And you can see some remnants of one of the seals coming out around the edge of this. So those seals were probably original seals. Good time to replace them. Now the springs, that's kind of up to you. You don't have to replace it, but there is a certain way this spring goes. So if you notice, it's not straight. It's actually kind of a conical shape. So make sure when you clip it on there, you're clipping that thing on to this end. It's just tension really holding that thing on there. But we're going to place the new seals on here, put that spring in, shove everything back in there, and put the new circlip on. That's all there is to it. Also, if you notice, these seals, they kind of face that way. They look like a cup, so they face that way, inward. That cup side faces inward, so it keeps all of the brake fluid pressing that way, and it doesn't let it leak by and come out that outer seal. Your new seals, also notice they come with two different diameters. That inner diameter is different. This one goes on first because it sits farther up on your piston right here, and then the smaller diameter sits out here. I'm just kind of rolling it on there, trying to keep a small gap so that it runs over those grooves and into its place. There we go. There's our first plunger. Now we just get the second one on. This one's not as bad. All right, once that's on there, easy. Get that new spring, pop it on there, and all this just feeds right back in there. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna clean this out real quick, but I'll pop it in there, and then basically that's all done. There it is. All set to go. One thing I should mention, I don't put those seals in there dry. I actually pull out a little bit of brake fluid, just rub it on there with a finger so that those seals aren't going in dry, because you don't want them to get eaten up before you actually pour brake fluid in there. So now I'm just gonna put the brake lever on here and mount this thing to the bars.
Nice.
All right, and the last thing I got to do today, get these guys in here. All they do is they thread in right here, and they work in conjunction with these to keep that caliper sliding straight. And that was where I had my issues. So I'm just going to replace these, maybe a little bit of Loctite to keep them in there, and everything should be straightened back out. I double checked these. These are already straight. Thankfully, it was just these ones that bent. And they come with a little Allen head on them. So you won't see it right away. It'll be concealed inside this rubber boot. But when you pop it out, if you ever find that that's bent, it's just a little Allen head in there to tighten it in. These ones come with an actual hex head. And in case you're wondering, it's a 5mm that goes in there. We'll use just a little bit of this sparingly. Do not want these coming out. And I'll use just a little bit of this waterproof grease on the pins themselves. There we go. And that's that. You guys can see how that moves around on there. Now that that's nice and straight, I don't get any binding. Last thing I got to do, just add these little clips. They're just basically little tension spacers. That's really all they do. So, hook this little guy in here like this. And then it has these little clips on the bottom, basically snap onto the caliper itself. And these help hold tension against your brake pads so they don't rattle around. You can see the little clips right there. There we go. And that's clipped in. Then I got one more for the other side. That's this guy. Gotta make sure I get them straight. There we go. All right, this clip is okay, but I'm gonna put a fresh one on there anyway. There's a new one, and this guy just slides in the back here. Slot goes up, follows the other slot. And that's that. Done. And that's that. Really easy day. Brakes, kind of a simple thing, maybe a little tedious sometimes, but good insurance when you put this thing back together. I've already got some good DP brake pads to put in there when those things are done. I've got wheel bearings coming, so I've still got a ton of things on the way so I can get this thing really hunkered down, but shocks are going to be the last thing. I have arms. I'll show you guys those when they're done. They're at powder coat right now, but thank you to Jason for getting me those arms. I have a pretty sweet set of basically brand new arms, but they're special. So come back when I pull those out so you guys can see what I've got cooked for that. Other than that, that's it for today. Short video, but I wanted to go through brakes because they're kind of an important thing. People kind of forget about them because they seem to just work. But when you really go through them, there are a bunch of little things that could go wrong. Now that they're pretty much fresh, I'm not worried about them for a long time. They do last quite a while. Stock brakes, I don't need anything crazy right now. Those are gonna work fine for a very, very long time. But If you guys like this stuff, keep coming back for more. I'll have plenty of it. Thanks for watching this one. Hopefully you like it. I'll catch you in the next video.